This is Chapter 9, Section 3 in your textbook, and it is called Rational Functions and Their Graphs. So first of all, let's define what a rational function is. A rational function can be described as f of x equals p of x over q of x, where q of x does not equal 0. Now q of x cannot equal 0 because you cannot have 0 in the denominator of a fraction, because that just doesn't happen in math. Now, because of this, your graphs will the graphs of these particular functions sometimes look a little weird. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in the textbook. So right here you have these kind of odd-looking graphs. This one has squiggly lines, and it doesn't quite reach these particular lines right here. This graph has an empty space in the middle of the line, and this graph has both. And I'm going to kind of go over a little bit what those mean. So to start with, let's start with a function like this. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be finding the point of discontinuity, which is that circle, that little empty space in the line of your graph. And the way you do this is first you you set the denominator equal to 0. And you're basically finding the zeros. And you can factor it out. So this particular expression factors out to x plus 1 times x plus 1. And you just find what makes these 0, and in this case it would both be -1. So when x equals -1, this is your point of discontinuity. This is the point that your line cannot pass through. So that would be where your circle is. Now, when this point does not equal, when you factor this into the numerator, so say there's an x in the numerator, if this number does not make the numerator 0, if there's an x in the numerator, then this becomes the asymptote, which is, again, I'm going to show you real quick, which is this dotted line here. And basically, the lines of the graph can go almost all the way up to it, but they never actually cross over this line, because then the denominator equals 0, and it no longer works as a function. So that's basically how you determine your points of discontinuity and your asymptote. And when you're graphing these rational functions, basically what you do is you find the point of discontinuity, you find your asymptotes, and then you just plug in values for y when x equals a certain value, and you just kind of sketch out the graph.